What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. We are back in the garage once again. We're going to continue on project maintenance, the Hyundai Accent or whatever you want to call it. So using my scientific method, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Spark plugs it is. And if you haven't already done so guys, be sure you hit that subscribe button below and turn on your notifications because we have plenty more videos to come. We're about midway through our pretty much overhaul maintenance of the Hyundai Accent. So first things first, with spark plugs, you got to access them. Simply to get access to those spark plugs, you just pull up on all four sides and this engine cover will come undone. It's just held on by these little push pins or something like that. So now we have access to the engine. And as you can see here guys, now we can see where the four coil packs are. Right over here, one's actually behind this little vent tube here, which I'll probably remove just so we can get better access. The engine bay is actually very dusty and dirty, but we'll eventually clean it and that'll be a later video. But for now, just to kind of help avoid getting anything into the cylinders through the spark plug hole once we remove them, I'm gonna kind of clean up just a little bit. Now that we got the area nice and cleaned up, we'll go ahead and disconnect the plugs here. So what you're going to do to take off these connectors, you're going to be very careful first off. And there's this little gray tab which you want to pull up on like that. And then now that you have that pulled up on, you should be able to press in the little black tab on the main connector, which is right here. And that should allow you to pull out the connector just like that. Now that we went ahead and got those cables out of the way, we can move on to the actual bolts holding in the coil packs. So they're all 10 millimeters, and I put a little universal joint on there just so I can make sure I'm not twisting or turning or cranking sideways. It's all just going to be a twisting motion. So simply we'll take all these off. Now that we got all four of those off, we can easily pull out these coil packs. One thing I didn't show you earlier is actually just unplug this little vent tube here. Set it aside because it helped me get access to that fourth coil pack over there furthest on the driver's side. Again, now that we have them out, you simply just kind of give them a wiggle, pull up, and they pop right out. One thing I like to do is I just like to keep the same coil pack to the same cylinder. So as you see how I'm laying them out up top, just going right across, 1, 2, 3, 4, just so I know where to put them back on. Another thing you'll have to do is being very careful, disconnect the connector on the high pressure fuel pump over here. That allows you to get this fourth coil pack up and out. Temporarily we'll leave it unplugged. And now we can access the four spark plugs. So one thing that's very important when you're doing spark plugs is make sure you don't drop anything into the cylinders, because once you take out that spark plug, you have an open port which can get dirt, debris in there, which could cause a whole lot of damage. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start from the left side. As soon as I take one of the spark plugs out, I'm actually gonna cover the hole with some tape here, and that'll hopefully prevent anything from falling in. One thing important that you wanna make sure you're doing is using a universal joint, because once again, like those other bolts, this prevents you from applying a lateral stress on those, which could cause you to snap it off into the engine bay, which would be extremely expensive, and yeah, you don't want to do that. And it kind of helps you actually get to the correct angle. So to get these spark plugs out, you're going to use a standard 5/8 or a metric 16 millimeter deep socket. Most toolkits have a specialized spark plug one, which has that little rubber thing on the inside, which will grab onto it once you get it loosened up. So that's what you're going to want to use, and I'll go ahead and get started. Alright guys, now that we've got the spark plugs out of the engine, you can actually use these as like a little glimpse into the past of the engine. So for this one, which I don't know the past, I can kind of see just how it's been running. There's two things I'm looking for, which is one over here on the electrode side, which is the bottom that actually creates the spark, and two up at the top where the insulator is. As you can see where the insulator is, there's a little bit of brown discoloration, which just means that the engine runs hot like all engines do. This back side here, or the bottom side where the electrode is, what we're looking for specifically is the discoloration. If the engine's running super lean, there'll be excessive white deposits all over this bottom half, everywhere pretty much, just means that it's burning. Two, if it's covered in like soot or like a thick material like a charcoal or something, that means it's running extremely rich. So either the two could be bad, but these guys are actually none of them. So that looks good, which means this engine has been running good in the past. So I went ahead and took out the new spark plugs, and as you can see here, they're nice, pretty, and ready. So first things first, what you want to do is just make sure the gap is set correctly. Get you one of these little gap tools. They're like 99 cents at really any hardware store, or even Walmart has them. For this 2014 Hyundai Accent, the gap that the service manual recommends is 0.9 to 1 millimeters, or in other words 0.0354 inches to 0.0394. So if you look at this up close, you have your choices of using millimeters or inches. Like I said, we're looking for 0.0354, and if you can see, we're way over. We're at 0.05. So we'll just check the rest of them. Yep, we're at 0.35. So I'm actually going to knock them down, and we'll get these ready and we'll get them installed. Alright, now that we got these guys gapped correctly, last but not least, we're going to go ahead and apply a little bit of anti-seize to the threads, specifically because we don't want these to get locked into the engine bay, because over the next 80 to 100,000 miles, it's going to go through a lot of heat cycles, and these guys can actually get stuck into the cylinder, which you do not want. So definitely always apply anti-seize. Alright guys, now back into the engine bay we go, and we're simply just going to reverse the entire process. I'm going to stick these guys in there, get them put in. I actually switched over to my torque wrench, which these guys are actually torqued to 8 foot-pounds. So we'll go ahead and get these going and move on to the next stuff. Alright, now that all the spark plugs are in, we can go ahead and put back in all the coil packs. So drop them in one by one and you'll be done. Now that the coil packs are back in, go ahead and put in the screws. You'll tighten down all 4 of these screws to the same 8 foot-pounds, and that will be plenty. And now that the coil packs are in, you simply just connect back up the 4 connectors that you removed from the spark plug boots. Don't forget to connect the connector that you removed for the high pressure fuel pump, and definitely don't forget to connect the crankcase vent tube. And just like that guys, you are done with today's task. You successfully changed the spark plugs in your 2014 Hyundai Accent. Be sure you turn it on to make sure it is working and running correctly, which we did now, and it is. We are good to go for today, but be sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure you turn on your notifications. We have plenty more videos to come down the pipeline for this very vehicle, and you do not want to miss out. Thank you guys once again for watching. You're watching Everything Avery. I'll see you on the next one.